Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amber. Today we're doing yes, no, maybe on the 39 books that I've read this year. I am going to try and go through these quicker. Sorry if I rant a little bit on some of these. I probably will, knowing me. So the first one that I read this year was Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This one is the second book in the Letters of Enchantment series, the first one being Divine Rivals. Wow, okay. That's pretty sad because I gave that book a 5-star and I love that book and I couldn't even think of the name. Anyway, this is a YA fantasy. Yeah, 100% yes, I would say yes to both of them. Love this duology, so good, highly recommend. Then I listened to part 1 of 2, the A Court of Thorns and Roses dramatized audio. Yes, especially if you love ACOTAR, yes, a million times yes on the dramatized audio. It's a full voice cast with like sound effects and that. Some of the sound effects are weird, but yes, I would recommend them. I read House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Crescent City series. I gave this one, this is adult fantasy. I gave this one 4.5 stars when I read it, 4.25 stars. 4.5, I wouldn't necessarily give that if I was rating it now. I think it'd be more of like a 4-star. I enjoyed the series, but not as much as like Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses. Those both. ACOTAR is what got me back into reading, so that one's always gonna be something that I love. Throne of Glass is just Throne of Glass. I mean, there's really no words for that series. This one, it's good, but I don't know. I'm just not a huge fan of like the more modern fantasy. I didn't click with it the same. But this one especially, I feel like the ending was pretty good, but there were so many times in this book that I was bored. So it'd probably be more like a 4-star, and that 4-star is more based on like more just like vibes than anything. Yeah. I don't know. It'd be a yes overall for the series, maybe on this book. Then I read Glint by Raven Kennedy. This is a adult fantasy King Midas retelling. This is on Kindle Unlimited, and it is the second book in the Plated Prisoner series. I gave that one a 3.75 stars. I didn't really care for the first one. The second one was a lot better in my opinion, and I hear that it just keeps getting better. I know a lot of people love this series. Overall, so far, yes, I have started Gleam. I just need to finish it and get back into this world. But so far, yeah, I would recommend it. Then it was part 2 of the ACOTAR dramatized audio. Yes. Then I reread A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the ACOTAR series. 5 stars every single time that I read it. Like I said, it is something that is just going to stick with me forever because it is what got me back into reading. So I know so many people have like a hit or miss opinion on this series. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. I'm one of the people that loves it. Is it the best written thing on the planet? No. But it's so entertaining. I always have such a good time reading it. I love these characters. I love this world. I always think about it like every single day. So yeah, if somebody asked me, yeah, I'm going to recommend it. Then we have Kingdom of the Wicked by Carrie Maniscalco. This is a YA fantasy. Witches, princes of hell, demons, werewolves, vampires, you name it, it's in here. I gave this one, I think, a 4-star when I read it. I would really knock this down to like a 3 or 3.5. I think the first one is the most boring. Our main character is frustrating and kind of irritating, in my opinion. Overall, I would say yes. I would say maybe for the series. If you like that kind of stuff, then yes. If that's not really your style, just skip it. I typically like books like that, but I just did not click with the series very much. It got better as it went along, but it's not really something that I think about at all anymore. Like, I haven't thought about it once since I finished the series. So, maybe. Then we have My Dark Romeo by, Parker S. Huntington. This is a Kindle Unlimited book, dark romance. This is the first book in the Dark Prince Road. No, I wouldn't recommend this book. It took everything in me to finish it. I really wish I would have just simply DNF'd it. The things that were said in this book had me like internally just Hated the main male character. I don't hate dark romance. I like dark romance books. So that's why I'm going to go no. I personally think there's so many better ones out there, which is a shame because the special print of this book is phenomenal looking, but I wouldn't recommend it ever. Then I read Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton, again, Kindle Unlimited. This one, check the trigger warnings. It's H.D. Carlton. Check the trigger warnings. Yes, I would recommend this book. Yes. This is a spin-off of the Cat and Mouse duet. You're following a character who was like briefly mentioned in that one. Yeah, I'd recommend it. I had a good time reading that. Then I read Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. This is the first one in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. This is also Kindle Unlimited. I gave this, I think, 4 stars. 4. Oh no, I gave it 3 stars. I don't know why. I feel like I would have rated that higher. I know, I've heard that the series gets better, which I plan on continuing it. I'd probably give that like a 3.5 star, not a 3. Yes, just know it's pretty much pure smut. I'm not there for the writing, I'm there for the vibes, and the vibes are fun, okay? I had a really fun time reading that. Yes, I would recommend it. Then I read Kingdom of the Curse by Carrie Maniscalco. This is the second book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series. I gave this one 4 stars. It was better than the first. Still didn't really care for it all that much. Again, maybe. Then I read Bound by Ravens by Jessica Sundin. Another, I think this was Kindle Unlimited. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I'll put it here if this was Kindle Unlimited or not. I really don't remember. This is an adult fantasy, but there's really no smut in it, like at all. I think there was a little bit towards the end, but it wasn't like no descriptions or anything like that. It wasn't like overly graphic. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is part of like an interconnected standalone series for adult fantasy. Yes, I would recommend these. They're not like the greatest things ever, but it was very fun and enjoyable while I was reading it, and I did want to start binging them after that, but then I had videos planned and I didn't, so I've never gotten back to it. But if you're looking for like standalone fantasy books that don't have a lot of world building or magic systems, anything that really like you have to get invested in, I would highly recommend these. They are a fun read. Then I read Bride by Allie Hazelwood. This is like her first step away from just normal contemporary romance. This is a paranormal romance. Yes, I gave this 4.25 stars. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. Yes, I will recommend that one. Then I read this thickums, House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. I know that this one was very, very torn and split down the middle of. Some people were extremely disappointed and hated it. Other people loved it. I really enjoyed it. I gave this 5 stars, but thinking back on it, I don't think I'd necessarily give it 5 stars now. I think mainly I gave it to it because I had put so much time and investment in this series that I really I don't know, the vibes got me and I was very invested in this whole thing. So I feel like a lot of that was more just like not necessarily how much I enjoyed the book, but I felt like I needed to give it 5 stars. But that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it, because I did really enjoy this. It definitely had me like laughing and crying and going through every single emotion while reading this. I still really enjoyed the series as a whole. I would still recommend it if you're willing to put the time and effort into reading it and you do like Sarah J. Maas's writing. I still would recommend it. Then I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is a YA fantasy. If you've seen my reading vlogs, you know my mixed feelings on this. I think I originally gave this 4 stars. I'd probably give it more of like 3 or 3.5. I enjoyed it. I just felt like it just didn't really stand out by itself to me. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it. If you asked me about this book alone, I'd say maybe. As a series so far though, overall I'd say yes. Then we have For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This is the first book in the Wilderwood duology. This is a YA fantasy. It's like a Red Riding Hood retelling, and it's like one of the most unique retellings I've read. If you liked One Dark Window or anything really that has more of like a dark, grim atmosphere to it with like magical woods, I highly recommend this one. This is a 100% yes for the fall and a yes any other time of the year, but I think it'd be most enjoyable in the fall. I love this duology. I am like 60% of the way through For the Throne, which is the second one. Yes, I recommend that one. Then we have An Endless Escape by Kaven Herning. This is the second book in the A Forbidden Fate series. Yes, Yes, I recommend this. I think I gave this 4.5 stars when I rated it originally. Yes, this series is so fun. She writes such good characters. Like, they all have such a strong and unique personality from each and every one of them. The banter is top tier with them. I love everything about this. The two main characters can't touch her, they'll die, but there's still spice in here. Not a lot, but yeah, I recommend the series. I love it. There's another one coming out, I think either later this year or next year, something like that. Then we have Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. This is a dark rom-com, I guess I'd call it. Check the trigger warnings. Yeah. I'd recommend it. If you like dark romance, yeah, I recommend it. Then I read Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This is her first, like, adult romance, I believe. I'm pretty sure all her other books are YA. Yes, I'd recommend this. I had such a fun time reading it. It was so enjoyable, so funny. Loved the characters, loved the base of the whole entire, like, the premise of the book. Loved it. Yes, I recommend. Then I read The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Stolen Heir duology. This is a spin-off. You're following Oak and Ren from the Cruel Prince trilogy. I absolutely love the Cruel Prince trilogy. It's like one of my all-time favorite series. This one, I'm sad to say, it disappointed me. I love the world of Elfhame, but I really just felt while I was reading this that the, like, characters from, like, I don't know, their personality traits, the things that, like, the way that the whole, I don't know how to describe it, the way it was structured, the way each character was structured, and the things that they were doing and saying, it just felt like it was taken from the first book and the characters were just, like, renamed and reskinned, and they still had, like, the same thing. Oak felt like a more washed out version of Carden to me. And I mean, there's, like, parts where you see him be his own character, but, like, he reminded me too much of Carden, but not in, like, I'm enjoying this way. It's like it just didn't feel truly thought out, and I felt like Ren just reminded me too much of Jude. So I was underwhelmed with the series. I was extremely excited to get back into it. So I would say maybe on that series, on that duology, if you really love that world, you may end up liking it. It may just be me being picky and ridiculous, but I personally just didn't really love it. So it'd be a maybe from me. Then I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is an adult cowboy romance. This is part of an interconnected standalone series. You're following, like, all the different brothers, and then one of them is, like, the brother's friend, but he's pretty much part of the family. You know what I'm saying? You know? Anyway, if you were asking me just solely about this book, I'd say maybe. It's good, but I didn't love it. If you're asking about the whole entire series, I couldn't tell you about the whole series. I shouldn't say that. I've only read the first 2 books, but so far, it's getting better. I know that I haven't even gotten to what's most people's favorite of the whole entire series, so yeah, I'd recommend it. Then we have There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. This is a Kindle Unlimited. Oh, also, this is a Kindle Unlimited. This is a Kindle Unlimited dark romance. It's fairly short. I didn't really care for it. None of the characters stood out to me. I didn't feel anything towards this book. I have not thought about it one time. I couldn't tell you what even happened in this besides one small scene at the very beginning of it, and that is about it. I'm gonna read the second one. I've heard that the second one's better. I'm going to read the second one eventually, but as it stands now, I'd say no. Then I listened to Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is the first book in the Maple something. I don't know what the series is called. They're, like, interconnected standalones. This is a adult hockey romance. I think it's considered adult. I would hope that it is. My answer would be no. I didn't really care for it. I thought it was pretty dragged out. I didn't really care about any of the characters. It was just okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't overly terrible, but if you really like hockey, let me rephrase that. I'll say maybe. If you really like college hockey romances, you may end up liking this. I think this was my first college hockey romance book that I've ever read. And as it stands, it's a maybe. I didn't overly care for it, though. Then we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. This is the first book. I don't even know what this is the first book in the saga of the Unfated. There we go. This is an adult fantasy, Norse mythology, Vikings. Yes. I gave this book 5 stars. I have not stopped thinking about it since I read it. I absolutely love it. I need the next one to come out. If you are a fan of the show Vikings, yeah, pick this up because it reminds me so much of that. Even if you don't really know a lot about Norse mythology, pick it up because they do a pretty good job of explaining things and not making it overcomplicated. I don't personally know a ton about Norse mythology, and I did not feel overwhelmed at all reading this. I felt like it was really easy to follow along. Loved the characters, loved the banter. Recommended. Then I read Don't Let Me Fall by Kelsey Ray. Again, I think this is part of a interconnected standalone. I think they're like $4.99 on Kindle. No, I'm not going to recommend it. It's like an adult college romance. I didn't like the timeline that things were happening in here. It's like a mild, washed out version of a trope that I really don't care for. I just didn't care about any of the characters. Nothing stood out to me. A lot of the things that they said, just, again, inward, just, yeah, it was okay. Not great. I wouldn't really recommend it. Then I read A Fallen Sword by Kaven Herning. This is the first book in the Wolf and the Viper series, I believe it's called. Yes, I recommend this. Again, she does such a good job at giving each character a very unique and distinct personality, and they're also fun to read about. Like, I feel invested in every single character that's made, and this book is really interesting because it has like a loose D&D inspiration behind it. And what I mean by that is, like, she used D&D dice to roll for each like scene that was happening in this book. So anything major that was happening, she was rolling to decide how it was gonna go, which I think is just such a unique way to write a book, and I had such a fun time reading it, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. So yes, I highly recommend that one. Then I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is an adult romance. Yes, I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely loved reading about it. I loved Miles' character. I think that the 2 main characters had really good banter and chemistry. There's something about Emily Henry's writing, and I don't know if she could write a book that I wouldn't love. So yeah, I highly recommend that one. Then we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. This is the first book I've read from her, and yes, I would recommend this one. It was so much fun to read. It had me laughing, crying. Things that I didn't expect to happen in here were happening. At the end, they like revealed things that from the beginning you just wouldn't have put 2 and 2 together, or at least I didn't. But yes, I highly recommend this. I had such a fun time reading it. Then I read Kingdom of the Feared, which is the final book in the Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. Again, maybe on the whole entire series, this one was the best one in my opinion out of all of them, but still I was just underwhelmed by the series as a whole. Then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver. This is the second one in the Chestnut Spring series. Again, Kindle Unlimited. Yes, I really enjoyed this one. There was just one small thing towards the end that I didn't really care for that kind of knocked the rating down a little bit, but overall, yeah, I loved this. Single dad trope, grumpy sunshine, love it, recommend it. Then I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is my first book from her. This is the second book in the A Part of Your World series. I skipped the first one. Listen, don't come for me. Yeah, I would recommend it. I had a really fun time reading this. I loved the characters. I loved the whole entire way that the book was written. I felt like they had really good banter and chemistry, and the way that our main female character helps our main male character with anxiety was just adorable, and I feel like the anxiety was portrayed pretty well. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think it was really good. Then I read At the End There Was You by Wendy Heiss. This is like a $2.99 book off of Kindle. I found the author's TikTok and saw it like a brief descriptor of the last book in this. They're like all interconnected standalone novellas. Adult fantasy, I don't remember if I said that, but the last one is following like the god of life and the god of death in their love story. I was like, yeah, I need to read that, but I wanted to read them in order. I'm glad that I read this one because I did really enjoy that. If you're looking for fantasy that's like a quick read, again, kind of like the other one that I was Bound by whatever the other one was that I was talking about, that's like shorter, not a lot of world building, not a lot of magic system, like learning that. Yeah, I recommend it. I think it was really fun to read. Then I read Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. This is the second book in the Ruinous Love trilogy. Yeah, I recommend it. I didn't like this one as much as Butcher and Blackbird, but I still enjoyed it. Yeah, I'd recommend both of them. Again, check trigger warnings though. Then I read Yellowface by R.F. Wong. This is my first book by her, and this one's, I believe, literary fiction. I could be wrong. I had a hard time getting into this book, but I did end up overall enjoying it. So if that is more your vibe, yeah, I'd recommend it. My biggest gripe about that book is I just felt like the internal monologue of the main character was brought up way too often, of her thinking the same exact thing. Like, the premise is she is a white author and she's friends with a Asian author who is like a New York Times bestseller. All her books are always like right when they're published, just going big. She's getting all this money for it. And the white author is jealous of her friend, and they're like celebrating one night, and her friend, she's like at the apartment when her friend dies, so she ends up stealing her friend's manuscript and publishing it as her own, and not giving her late friend any credit for this work. So like obviously you're gonna feel guilty at certain points, but I felt like it was brought up so often, and I just noticed that pattern, and it kind of took away from the book in my opinion. But overall, really good book. I would recommend that book. Then I have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the first book in the Inheritance Games series. This is like a YA mystery. Yes, I would recommend this. It was slow at first, but I understand like when you're getting into a series, you're kind of going to have that world building and just the layout for the plot and everything and all the character development. Overall, I would recommend this. I think it's a really fun read. I liked all the little puzzles and everything that you are kind of trying to figure out as you're going along. Really well written. Had a fun time. Yes, I recommend. Skipped Powerful. I skipped this one. I read this at some point. It wasn't that long ago. So Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This is the novella in the Powerless trilogy. This one, you're following Adina, and I already knew how this book was going to end, and it still had me sobbing. This is what redeemed this series for me. I didn't really care for the first book, but I absolutely loved this, and it made me want to keep going in the series. So, yes, I would recommend this one. Then, I have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This is a mystery thriller on like a remote Irish island at a wedding. You have like 5 people in that wedding that are all, suspects for this murder that happens, but only one of them killed the person. I wouldn't recommend it. It took me a very, very long time to get through this book. I just did not really have a fun time. I felt like there were a lot of things in here that felt pointless and boring to me and dragged out, and I just, by the end of it, didn't really care anymore. There was like 2 point of views that just genuinely I could barely even get through their chapters. So I'm going to give Lucy Foley more chances. I'm going to try other books because this is the first book I've read from her, but this one in particular, no, I wouldn't recommend it. Then we have Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is the second book in the Powerless trilogy. Yes. I did really enjoy this one. I've seen mixed reviews. I've seen some people absolutely love the first one and not really care for this one. I'm the opposite. I didn't really care for the first one. I really enjoyed this one. This one just felt more of its own book. Where the first one just felt like a lot of popular books mashed together, this one felt like it stood out a lot more, in my opinion, as its own series. So I really enjoyed this one. I had fun reading this one, and it makes me excited to read the last one and see how everything gets wrapped up. So yes, I would recommend that one. Then I'm going to count this one in here because I am literally like almost done. I think I'm at like the 90% mark at this point today, so I'm gonna finish it today, so I'm just gonna include it. This is The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. This is the second book in the Prison Healer trilogy. This one is a YA fantasy. Yes, I'd recommend this. I loved the first book. I think I gave that 4 or 4.25 stars. This one I think will probably get more of like a 3.5 stars. I'm enjoying it, but I definitely think that this one's pretty slow. There's not a lot that's happened in it. It's starting to happen now. It started happening at like the 75-80% mark. I feel like that's where a majority of things started picking up, which to me is kind of a little too late in a book for things to actually start happening. A lot of the first one just kind of felt like mundane, boring things happening. But I hear that the last one's really good, and because of how much I liked the first one, I really want to get to the last one. So this one alone, meh. First one, good. Last one I'm hoping is really good. So overall, yeah, I'm going to recommend the series. Let me know any of these that you've read. If you had like dramatically different opinions than me, I would love to hear them. Of course, always keep things spoiler free, please. But I'd love to hear if you like really didn't like a book that I said was good, or you really liked a book that I personally didn't really like. Or any of these that you haven't read yet that you're looking forward to reading. Let me know. I love to hear you guys' thoughts and opinions on things. But those are all 38 books that I've read this year. My goal is 70 books. So as of right now, I'm 1 book behind schedule. I've been in a reading slump for a while. I keep thinking that I'm getting out of my reading slump, and then I just hit back into it like 2 days later. So it's been a little bit slow lately. I feel like it usually gets like that in the summer, so hopefully as fall hits I start reading more. But yeah, summer's busy. But anyway, that's all that I have for you. Please make sure to subscribe to stay up to date with all my future videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!